I'm opening our relationship, Alex said, lifting a glass so all the tables could hear, but only on my side. You're perfect for paying the bills. Half of your 2 million in savings is practically mine. The room did not go quiet. It went louder. Laughter rose like steam. Someone clinked a spoon against a champagne flute. I kept my smile steady and tightened my grip on the envelope in my lap. Thick, ivory paper, a blue wax seal, the university crest pressed into it like a bruise. Graduation dinner, my graduation. The long table was set with white roses in low bowls and tiny candles that made everyone handsomer than they were. I had dressed exactly right, simple navy suit, clean lines, careful shoes. The restaurant sat high over the river. The windows showed the water taking its time beneath us. Alex tilted the glass to catch the light. A silver USB drive dangled from their key ring. It flashed like a fish. They had insisted on carrying my new apartment key, too. A brass key I had picked up that morning from the front desk after a final signature. Symbolic, Alex had said. We're stepping into our future. Our future. Funny word, future. It fits until you say it out loud. I felt the sting first, then the cold. Shock is a quiet thing. It organizes you. I noticed the linen napkin folded into the shape of a bird. I noticed the scuff on Alex's watch. I noticed the waiter's tray shaking ever so slightly, as if someone far away had slammed a door. Tell me where you're watching from, I said to you, because this is the part that matters, and hit subscribe. We need to talk about families, money, and the people who feel entitled to both. The table laughed again. Not all at once. Laughter came in stray bursts like popcorn. Alex grinned at me as if we had just rehearsed a line in a play. I let my gaze drift to the envelope. Inside was a letter from the dean and a neat, heavy pin. Proof that 2 years of night classes had led somewhere. I kept my thumb on the seal so it would not slide open and spill. I have learned this. Much humiliation begins with details. A candle snuffs itself. A fork falls. A friend clears his throat and says nothing. Your chest tightens like a fist. You sit a little straighter. You do not blink. Half, I asked. Light voice, careful voice. That is a number Alex likes, someone said. Fair is fair, someone else said. I watched the river and counted the dark shapes of boats moving against the lights. I could have stood up. I could have left. But the trick with shame is to let it pass through without catching your coat. Only on my side, Alex repeated, happy as a presenter. It's modern, it's healthy, we're adults. And come on, Morgan is not the jealous type. A pause, half a smile. Besides, Morgan has enough for both of us. There it was, my name dressed like a punchline. I nodded. I might have even clapped once. I am not proud of that. I swallowed the sharp taste that rose in my mouth and sipped water instead. The glass left a round ring on the menu. Circles everywhere, rings, plates, eyes. After the toast, people drifted toward the bar. Congratulations came like paper planes. You did it, Morgan. So proud of you, Morgan. What of you, Morgan? I thanked them. We shook hands. We posed for a photo against the window. I put the envelope in a slim leather folder and slid the folder into my work bag. Objects behave, people do not. I find comfort in what can be zipped. Alex leaned close. Perfume that costs more than groceries. I knew you'd be cool, they whispered. You always say growth requires experiments. They tapped the USB with a nail and wiggled the apartment key. Also, I saved something fun to show you later. I smiled the way you smile at a neighbor's dog. Later, I said. I could tell you that we had been together 3 years. I could tell you that we met in a yoga studio where everyone whispered and nothing smelled like air. That I loved Alex's easy laugh and the way they made waiters relax. I could tell you that during those years I worked days at the fun nights, at the program weekends, on case studies that left ink stains on my thumbs. I could tell you that I paid the rent and the car insurance and the streaming services because it was easier than explaining budgets. That when Alex asked for a new phone for work, I said yes, and did not check the bill. These facts are pebbles in a jar. They rattle when you shake them, but they mean nothing until the light hits. What matters is this. The person who declares themselves open will often try to pry you apart. We left the restaurant late. The host brought our coats in a tidy row on a brass rack. The key ring jingled in Alex's hand like a dare. Outside, the air had cooled. The river's breath came up through the railing. Cars hissed past on wet pavement. The city never really sleeps. It only lies back and stares at the ceiling. Come to a friend's after party, Alex said. Rooftop. Views for days. We can announce the update. Their eyes glittered. Announce. Update. Words that belong to software and sales. I have an early meeting, I said. It was true. A Monday breakfast with a client who wore cufflinks heavy enough to root a man. You go. Celebrate. I'll see you at home. Home, Alex repeated as if tasting the word. Our apartment is a vibe. I lit the good candle. They kissed the air near my cheek and stepped into a rideshare already waiting. The door closed. Their silhouette turned into a rectangle of light as the screen of their phone lit up their face. I stood a moment longer and watched a barge push through the water, slow, stubborn, exactly itself. Then I walked to the parking garage. The leather of the steering wheel felt cool. The folder lay on the passenger seat. I thought of my parents who kept russet envelopes of receipts in a kitchen drawer labeled taxes in block letters. I thought of their rule. If it isn't written down, it isn't real. At home, the apartment was half packed and half staged, the way places feel when you are promising yourself a new start. The coffee table held a candle that smelled like something expensive and vague. A crystal bowl held Alex's favorite rings. On the counter, a note in Alex's looping hand. After party, don't wait up, you're the best. I put the note under the sugar jar and opened my laptop. Screens make brave companions. Bank tabs, credit card tabs, phone plan, insurance, a spreadsheet with more columns than cents. I was not doing math, I was taking attendance. Who belonged where? Which names appeared where they should not? My name had become a coat other people wore. There is a kind of bravery in reading your own bills out loud. I whispered each line item like a prayer. One thing at a time, my grandfather used to say. He worked on airplanes, hands always smelling of metal. He preferred tools to people. Tools repay attention. People expect it. I did not cancel anything that night. I did not change a password. That would come later. Revenge like bread needs time to rise. I only wrote. I only looked. I tucked screenshots into a folder named with a date and a quiet word. Evidence is a fence you build slowly, post by post. Just before midnight, my phone lit with a message from Alex. A photo of a rooftop city lights trembling in the background. A hand, someone else's hand, rested on Alex's shoulder. No faces, just a caption, open doors, open hearts. Then another, you're chill with this, right? You're secure. I did not answer. The silence felt like stepping off a boat onto a dock that holds. I set the phone face down. The candle flickered once, then steadied. Here is the last thing for tonight. The next morning I found slipped under the door a crisp, white envelope I did not expect. The building's letterhead, the manager's neat signature, a reminder about authorized occupants and keys, a gentle paragraph about lease terms. Someone had asked for something in the night. Someone had been told no. The blue notary stamp at the bottom looked like a moon. I will tell you what was in that envelope soon. It matters. For now, tell me where you are watching from and whether you have ever sat at a table where your name was the joke. We have more to cover: the USB, the key, the after-party posts, and the exact moment when I decided that open would also mean closed. I sat at my kitchen table the morning after the graduation dinner, a stack of unopened envelopes beside my coffee mug. I had ignored them for weeks. Bills, statements, things I did not want to face, but the humiliation from the night before made me restless. Alex's words still echoed, half of your 2 million savings is basically mine. It stung, not only the arrogance, but the hint that maybe they believed it. I pulled the first envelope open. Electricity. Higher than I remembered. The next one, internet. Paid late again. Water bill, groceries, car insurance, all carrying my name, all drained from my account. I reached for my laptop and began cross-checking. It became clear Alex had been living in this apartment like it was their own kingdom, and I had been footing the cost without noticing. There was the car insurance policy, 2 drivers listed. I remembered the phone call months ago. Just add me for convenience. I'll cover my share later. They never did. The streaming subscription had jumped to a family plan. I never watched half those shows. My credit card statement revealed charges for boutique restaurants, even delivery to an address that was not mine. I sat back, the receipts spread out, like playing cards in a cruel game. It was not about the dollars alone, though they added up to more than I wanted to admit. It was the pattern. Every piece of my stability, quietly siphoned by someone who laughed at me in public. I made more coffee and stared at the steam curling upward. For years I had believed we were partners of some kind, or at least companions. But the truth lay in black ink. I was an account to be drained, not a person to be respected. Still, part of me hesitated. Maybe Alex did not realize how much they had leaned on me. Maybe they thought it was natural the way families blur lines. I wanted to believe it was ignorance, not calculation. But then I found the email. Buried in my inbox was a forwarded screenshot from a mutual acquaintance. Alex had posted in some online group boasting. The words cut deeper than any bill. I basically own half of their lifestyle. Without me, they'd have nothing. A laughing emoji followed, and a string of comments cheering them on. I closed the laptop slowly, as though shutting a door on my own denial. This was not ignorance, it was pride. That night, I could not sleep. I wandered the apartment, each object whispering a story. The lamp in the corner I had bought on clearance, the sofa I had paid off in installments, the framed photo from years ago before things soured. All mine, yet claimed in someone else's narrative. I remembered my father's old saying, one he used when counting coins for groceries. If you do not protect your wallet, someone else will spend it for you. At the time, it felt harsh. Now I understood. I sat at my desk, pen in hand, making a list. Not of expenses, but of boundaries. Passwords to change, cards to cancel, accounts to secure. Each line steadied me, each step a reminder that this was not weakness, but awakening. But what I did not know then, what would soon shake me even harder, was that Alex had already been bragging louder, not just in private messages. Their words were spreading across social feeds, framing me as the fool who let them live free. I'll tell you that part later. For now, remember, this humiliation does not always come with shouting. Sometimes it comes with silence, with the rustle of paper, with the cold realization that your kindness has been rebranded as someone else's victory. The trouble with shame is that it multiplies in silence. By the time I discovered Alex's bills scattered through my accounts, they had already found new ways to sharpen the blade. It began with a photograph on Instagram, a rooftop bar, strings of golden bulbs against a deep city sky, 2 wine glasses in the foreground, a hand, not mine, reaching toward Alex's sleeve. The caption, celebrating with joint account funds, number blessed. My phone buzzed as colleagues from the investment firm sent me the link. Some laughed. Some asked if it was satire. I forced a smile in the office kitchen and said little, but inside I felt the floorboards crack. It was not the photo alone. It was the deliberate phrasing, joint account funds. My money displayed like a community chest. The next week, Alex showed up at brunch, with friends sliding the leather bill folder toward me as though rehearsed. The total read $340, though I had only ordered coffee and a plate of fruit. When I hesitated, Alex chuckled loud enough for 2 tables to turn. Come on, you know you're the breadwinner. Without you, I'd still be in a basement studio. I paid. I always paid. But I also wrote the number down later in a notebook where each line became a tally against trust. Humiliation turned public soon after. Alex began speaking at dinners, telling mutual acquaintances that I was the safe one, the banker, the sponsor. A friend pulled me aside once, uncomfortable. You're okay with being called the sponsor? It sounds transactional. I shrugged, not ready to confess that it cut me open every time. One night, during a crowded gathering, Alex leaned across the table and announced, "Without me, Morgan would be invisible." I made them social. The word struck harder than the toast at graduation. Invisible. As though my years of study, my degree, my careful work at the fund were erased with a laugh. I glanced down at the tablecloth, tracing the pattern of blue threads, steadying myself. Rage is best swallowed cold, not spat hot. But what the room did not know, what I had begun quietly assembling, was a folder of receipts and screenshots. A trail of indulgence that pointed to the truth Alex had built a stage on money that was never theirs. Still, I endured the whispers, the snickers, the subtle pats on the shoulder. I endured because revenge must not be rushed. I endured because the deeper the cut, the cleaner the scar when it heals. I walked home that evening alone. The air carried a damp smell of rain, though the streets were dry. In the apartment, I found another envelope on the counter. This time it was a credit card statement, charges at a jewelry boutique, a spa weekend, an expensive dinner at a restaurant 2 boroughs away, none of which had my name attached except on the bill. I closed the envelope and pressed it flat beneath my palm. The paper felt warm, almost alive, as if mocking me. Alex breezed in later, humming, dropping a silk scarf onto the sofa. Don't worry, babe. It was on our card. We're building memories. I said nothing. But I thought of the word memories. Some memories are carved into photographs, some into scars, some into balance sheets. That night, lying awake, I repeated the insult in my head, invisible. If you have ever been called invisible, you know the strange power in it. It hurts, yes, but it also plants a seed. Because when someone declares you unseen, you begin plotting how to be undeniable. I'll tell you soon about the turning point, the moment when I stopped paying, stopped nodding, and started reclaiming. But for now, remember this rooftop photo, the smirk, the caption. It may have seemed trivial to the crowd scrolling through their phones. To me, it was the first nail in a coffin Alex was building with their own hands. It happened on a Sunday morning, one of those rare days when the city itself seems to pause. The streets outside were quiet coffee shops just lifting their shutters. I sat at the kitchen table, laptop open cursor blinking like a heartbeat. The numbers were all there, statements, receipts, screenshots. A record of a life bled dry. I typed slowly at first. New passwords, new logins, cancellations. The shared streaming accounts dissolved. The joint card froze. One by one, I pulled the plug from every place Alex had sunk their claws. Each keystroke felt like cutting a string that had been strangling me. The first message came within an hour. Hey babe, card declined at brunch, can you fix? I ignored it. Then another, your bank glitching, I'm trying to get gas. Then, this is embarrassing, just send me cash. By evening, the texts had sharpened into knives. You think you're smart, you'll crawl back. I put the phone face down and listened to the clock tick. 2 days later, Alex showed up outside my office. I had just stepped onto the sidewalk when they appeared, hair, wild eyes, blazing. You cut me off. Their voice was sharp enough to turn heads. Pedestrians slowed, sensing theater. Yes, I said. My tone was flat, almost gentle. I did. The performance began. Alex threw their arms wide, addressing the crowd as though auditioning for sympathy. This is what gratitude looks like, folks. I build them up and they dump me. Without me, Morgan is nothing. Their MBA means nothing. They'll die alone with their spreadsheets. I felt the words land, but they did not pierce. Not anymore. I stood steady, bag in hand, while strangers glanced between us. Some smirked, some shook their heads. A child clutched her mother's hand tighter. Alex stormed closer, but I lifted my phone, not to record, not yet, but as a quiet signal. Evidence mattered more than argument. They backed off, muttering, disappearing into the flow of traffic. That night, I returned home to find the apartment strangely still. The candle Alex loved had burned down to a puddle of wax. Their jacket was gone from the chair. On the counter, a note in hurried handwriting. You'll regret this. I folded it neatly, slid it into the folder with the rest of the evidence, and locked the drawer. Here's what people don't tell you about taking back control. It feels less like victory and more like silence. A wide, echoing silence that leaves you both relieved and unsettled. For the first time in years, my apartment sounded like itself, just the hum of the fridge, the creak of the floor, the faint whistle of wind against glass. But what Alex did next, the stunt that made my neighbors whisper the scene that would spill online, was still waiting. It was almost poetic how it happened. Alex had gone out for another date night, dressed in clothes I recognized from the last bill in my stack. Their perfume still lingered in the hallway as the door closed behind them. I sat on the sofa, staring at the empty space they left, and made a call I had been rehearsing for weeks. Tomorrow morning, I told the moving company. Box everything with their name on it. Deliver to storage. Leave nothing behind. The foreman's voice was calm, professional. We've handled worse, he said. By sunrise, men in uniforms were stacking boxes in the living room. I labeled each one with a thick black marker, shoes, jackets, books random. It wasn't anger that guided me. It was precision. Each box a boundary. Each item a line drawn. When the last carton slid into the truck, I turned the key in the lock. A new key cut that morning. Brass sharp edges. It felt heavier than it should, as if carrying the weight of all those years. I thought I would feel triumphant. Instead, I felt clean. Hours later, my phone buzzed. A notification from a live stream. I tapped it, and there was Alex, standing outside the building, tears streaking mascara, voice trembling with practiced sorrow. They threw me out. Alex sobbed into the camera. This apartment is family property. I built this life. Look, my things are gone. Everything I loved is gone. The screen tilted to show the locked door, the doorman looking away uncomfortably. Comments flew across the screen, sympathy from strangers, skepticism from others. Show us the lease. Is your name even on it? Sounds like you were freeloading. I sat at the table with a glass of water watching it unfold. The scarf I had folded last week was still draped over a chair. The candle stub remained in its dish. Ghosts of someone who thought possession was proof of belonging. Outside, Alex's voice rose shrill now. Without me, Morgan has nothing. Nothing. The stream shook as they pounded the door. A neighbor's voice cut in. That's enough. Go home. The video ended there, but not before it spread. Dozens shared, then hundreds. Soon it had traveled further than I ever expected. I closed my laptop and exhaled. The silence that followed was not empty. It was thick like a curtain pulled across a stage after the final act. But what Alex did not realize, what no one outside yet knew, was that I had evidence far stronger than a live stream. Screenshots, messages, proof of every borrowed dollar and stolen night. And when I released it, the internet would not pity Alex. That storm was coming. The first clip I released was only 10 seconds long, a screenshot of Alex's text overlaid with their own voice message. Send me $300 for tonight. Don't ask why. Just know it's worth it. Underneath my caption was plain. This is what open relationship meant. I posted it at midnight, closed my phone, and went to bed. By dawn, the video had traveled further than I dreamed. 100,000 views. By noon, 1 million. Comments poured in like a flood. You carried them. This is financial abuse flipped. Stay strong, Morgan. By evening, the clip sat on TikTok's trending page, stitched by strangers who debated, analyzed, even reenacted Alex's words. Some laughed, some raged, but all agreed on one point: entitlement dressed as love. I released another clip the next day. Screenshots of Alex bragging in private messages, I don't need to work. Morgan pays everything, even my dates. This one spread faster. People recognized the tone. Some said they had lived it. The comment section turned into a support group for the betrayed. Alex's friends began to scatter. One by one, they unfollowed. The so-called spiritual lover vanished, deleting shared photos. Even casual acquaintances left pointed remarks under Alex's old posts. Joint account, huh? I should have felt vindicated, maybe even victorious. But sitting alone at my kitchen table, watching the numbers climb, 2 million views, 3 million, it felt stranger than that. Viral fame is a mirror that warps. It shows you not only the betrayer, but yourself reflected in pain. Still, there was power in it, power I had never claimed before. The same world that had once laughed at Alex's toast was now laughing at Alex's downfall. But what I didn't expect was the backlash that would come not from strangers online, but from people who shared Alex's blood. Family can cut deeper than any audience. The first message came on a Tuesday morning. An email subject line in all caps, "How could you do this to Alex?" It was from Alex's aunt, a woman I had met twice at family gatherings. Her words poured across the screen like spilled ink. You humiliated them online. You destroyed their reputation. No partner should ever do this. You should be ashamed. By noon, 3 more emails arrived. A cousin, a sibling, even Alex's mother. Each accused me of cruelty, of abandonment, of wielding money like a weapon. They repeated the same refrain: Alex gave you love. You gave them debt and shame. My phone buzzed that afternoon. A voicemail from Alex's mother, her voice trembling with fury. You may think you're clever cutting them off, but you'll regret this. We'll make sure people know who you really are. I sat at my desk, fingers steepled, listening to the storm gather. Outside, the city hummed as usual. Inside, I felt the old ache of being misunderstood. Betrayal from Alex had burned deep, but betrayal by their family carried another kind of sting, the rewriting of the story casting me as the villain. I forwarded the emails to a friend, a lawyer who had stood by me since the first whispers of trouble. That evening, we met at a quiet cafe, papers spread between us. They can scream all they want, she said, tapping the lease with her pen. This apartment is in your name only. They can't claim a square inch. And these savings accounts yours alone. Alex has no legal foothold here. Her voice was steady, matter of fact. In a world full of noise, her words felt like stone. I nodded, though. Relief came mixed with sadness. Once I had hoped to build a family with Alex. Now their family was the chorus, accusing me of cruelty, blind to the truth. Still, I did not respond to the emails. I let silence do its work. I let the evidence remain tucked in my folder, neat and undeniable. But what Alex's family didn't know, what no one had yet realized, was that silence can be louder than shouting. And when the right moment came, I would not just defend myself. I would close the story with my own voice. I never planned to speak into a microphone. My life was numbers, deals, contracts, quiet work that lived in spreadsheets and quarterly reports. But when the storm with Alex settled, when their family stopped calling, when the comments online slowed to a trickle, I realized I needed to tell the story in my own words. Not through screenshots, not through strangers' edits, but through my voice. So I sat in front of a borrowed microphone in my apartment that finally felt like mine and began. Sometimes the best revenge, I said steady and slow, is financial independence. I told the story plain: the graduation dinner, the toast that cut like glass, the bills with my name, the receipts that whispered betrayal, the rooftop photo, the public insults, the live stream at my locked door. I spoke of humiliation, but not as a wound. I spoke of it as a teacher. Humiliation teaches you where you stand. Betrayal teaches you what to guard. Revenge, if you do it right, teaches you who you are. The microphone picked up the creak of my chair, the occasional clink of my glass on the table. I did not edit it out. Life is messy, and stories should carry some of that mess. I don't tell this to make you hate Alex, I continued. I tell it so you remember your own worth. If someone writes themselves into your assets without your consent, they are not a partner. They are a thief dressed as family. And thieves only stop when the door is closed. The recording lasted less than an hour, but when I uploaded it, messages began arriving from people I had never met. Strangers wrote that they too had been drained by those who claimed love but demanded payment. Some said they were filing for divorce. Others said they were canceling cards that night. A few simply said, "Thank you for reminding me I'm not invisible." I leaned back in my chair, the city's lights flickering beyond the window, and let the silence fill. It was the first silence in months that felt whole. So I will leave you with this: if you think I made the right choice, comment right. If you have a better way, share your idea. Because stories are not only mine, they are ours. And with that, the story is done.